Yoko Taro must be in the kitchen because he's cooking something. So episode 3 of the Nier Automata anime was the desert section. Kind of expected, but the way they told it is interesting, and there's some twists to be seen here that blew my mind. First off, Lily is the leader of the resistance, not Anemone. So that could have some ramifications in the future, as it seems she's at least suspicious as to who 2B is. This is already a drastic change from the pre-established lore, and I'm really interested to see where they're gonna go with the character of Lily and why they decided to use her and not Anemone. But honestly, the biggest standout for me in terms of character was Jackass. Her personality juxtaposed with 2B and 9S made for a great dynamic that added some necessary, I would argue, comedic relief into the mix. And I found it interesting how they decided to go with having Jackass accompany 2B and 9S for the mission out into the desert, instead of staying behind after blowing up the gate. I kind of think they just wanted to have Jackass in more scenes for that comedic relief, which I'm fine with. Not sure how much of an impact that would have for the future of the lore, but I think for the anime, it was a fun decision that added a nice bit of character and lightheartedness to the desert. And her fascination with gathering data and all these various machine life forms was pretty charming to me. But before we get to the giant robot sex scene, let's pivot over to the art. The fact they are replicating the areas from the games and making them feel natural in the world of the anime in terms of scale is either a testament to the team behind the anime and adapting the game's world to this different medium, or it's a testament to the game devs for making a world that feels so large in scale. And honestly, I'd argue it's a bit of column A and column B. Seems like almost every frame from this anime I can find the actual location in-game, at least for the most part. Especially when they traverse to the desert. I should know I've walked that freaking road many times before in the game. And speaking of accurately depicting locations from the game, let's get to the big mind screw of the entire episode, which is an accomplishment considering, again, we have that robot scene later on we all know and love-ish. What the hell was that hacking bit? So the gang gets surprised by a group of machines out in the middle of the desert, right? And 9S decides, hey, you know what, Fivehead, what we're gonna do is, 2B, you handle all the little jabronis, I'll tackle the big one through a hack. So they break and they go do this assignment, and he hacks in, finds a door with a giant serial number that I'm sure is significant to some degree, because let's be honest, it's Yoko Taro. And I haven't found a match. I kind of think it's an achievement or a trophy from either Replicant or an Automata, but I couldn't find a match from the initial perusal that I did for it. But he opens the door, right? And he just winds up at Facade from Nier Replicant. For those who don't know, this is a straight up location from Nier Replicant. Like, one for one. I've walked those streets as Nier before. This blew my mind. I was not expecting this at all. And the thing that surprised me even more was that the fact that the King and Fira were just right there, being celebrated by the onlookers. Now, I would say that it was probably the wedding, but I didn't see Nier, Kaine, Emil, or Vice there. So maybe it's the announcement of the marriage between the two, and they're celebrating that. I think that's the likely possibility. But besides me trying to remember what anime I was watching, 9S looks over and notices that he's standing next to a machine that's joined in with the celebration, talking about one of the rules that makes the people of Facade so well known. For those who don't know, the people of the Facade, people of the city of Facade, have thousands upon thousands of rules that they reference for every little facet of life. Then the machine notices 9S, abruptly stops celebrating, and then goes full Hulk mode and turns into a giant monster machine. 9S slices through it, ending the hacking sequence. But it's fascinating to me that they would reference the location straight out of Nier Replicant. And what I also found interesting was 9S's interpretation of what happened, that maybe the machine there was actually originally one of the inhabitants of that city, Facade. Because that's honestly how it was portrayed. It felt like he was delving into the memories of that one machine, and that the memories brought that machine back to that moment in Facade. Now, the likely answer is probably that it just found data pertaining to that one moment, but with the way that the Nier Automata anime is going, we genuinely do not know. This could be very significant in the future, depending on where they want to go for the lore of this anime adaptation of the story. It's such a wild and bold scene. And like I said, I can't tell if it's just a cheeky little reference to Nier Replicant, whereas, hey, if you know this location, you have some cool context for it, but hey, if you haven't played any of the Nier games before, you can just assume, hey, this is some old memory. So you're approaching the rest of the anime with fundamentally different perspectives and different questions. I kind of find that an intriguing way to approach a story like this. But then Jackass, 9S, and 2B reach the desert ruins of the long-forgotten residential complex. And then you have one of my favorite scenes of the machine coming around the corner, thinking they got away from them. Like, oh, thank God, we got away. Oh no, mistake, and just bolts out of there. I always found that scene charming in the game, and I like how they did it in the anime. They find the corpses of androids and that one Yoha unit. They enter the building, and this is an interesting take on this one scene, because in the game, all you did was you went to the bottom of this pit after you went inside, and you had all the robots trying to imitate what their idea of love is, what they have gathered or learned from various fragments of humanity that they've studied. And that's how that goes in the game, but it's not how it goes here. Because what they find is this pit that eventually gives way, and they find corpses, and I'm talking corpses. So many, where they form actual structures in this subterranean cavern. To me, it almost looked like muscle tissue, like something biological that was being created using all these machine bodies. And at the bottom of that pit is where we had the infamous robot, let's call it an activity pit, if you will. And the funny thing is, the ball that Adam and Eve will come from is already formed there, but afterwards they go, this cannot continue, and a whole swarm of them come out of the shadows, surround the ball, and then we get the scene from the game where Adam is birthed from this almost cocoon of machines. But whereas he came out in the human form, in the game he comes out almost like a Terminator that has his skin removed, and then the skin is almost synthesized on top of that. They have a short but pretty sweet battle, and we get that iconic scene of 2B and 9S stabbing from the front and the back Adam. Adam falls over, and then Eve is born from his ribs. Eve grabs Adam's body, leaps into the air, and does a WWE WrestleMania-esque maneuver, and just slams into the ground, forcing 2B and 9S to get the hell out of there. Because it also causes the entire cavern to collapse in on itself. It's a really interesting scene, because that was a specific decision that they made to add that extra subterranean bit to the cavern. They did not need to do that. To me, that's signaling to me that they have something else in plan for the rest of the show. That they are trying to sort of almost stick to the lore, stick to the script in a lot of ways, but then eventually they're going to pull the rug from under us and say, hey, this really is a unique story to the game. Because I'm not anticipating the ending to this anime to be anything like the ending we had in the game. I'm not anticipating that. I feel at some point they're going to bring all these little scattered pieces together, like Lily being there, not an enemy. Oh, there's this giant, almost graveyard of machines here. I feel like they're going to bring all these little pieces of the puzzle that they've left almost like breadcrumbs intermixed with the scenes we all know and love from the game. They're going to bring them all together and culminate in some kind of massive scene. One of the big questions I have going forward is, when we get to Pascal, right? What's going to be Pascal's relationship with the Resistance? Because in the game, Pascal's village and the Resistance had a trade agreement because Pascal and Anemone understood each other's issues, understood they could both help each other. Will Lily feel the same? What's the carnival going to be like? That's a massive scene from the game, and one of the most iconic. How are they going to treat it? What will be any differences that arise in it? Or will they leave it untouched? Because now it's intriguing to me just what is adapted one for one and what isn't. For all we know, we don't even get to the carnival next episode. They could pull an episode 2 on us and add an extra scene in that takes us by surprise. It's really hard to predict where this show is going from this point on, and to me, that's one of the best positions we could be in. Because they're keeping us on our toes. It still feels like Nier, though I do wonder how effective this story would be for someone who hasn't played the other games. Because to me, I have. Nier Automata is my favorite game of all time, and Nier Replicant's in my top 10. And so far, because I have all that context, I'm really enjoying the show, and I'm enjoying to see what differences there will be between the show and the game, because I didn't want them to adapt the game one for one. I didn't think they would go this hard into taking their own personal liberties with it, but I'm personally fine with that. I feel like I'm able to experience the story all over again, and I'm personally enjoying it. Art style is beautiful to me. The comedy is few and far between, but when it's there, I find it really funny, which is Nier for me. I want a bit more time with the characters. I feel like we're going to get that, and when we get to the carnival bit, I feel that's going to be an excellent opportunity to really dive into the characters of 9S and 2B and make the anime-only watchers really care about them as characters. Because in the game, they use that moment, or that entire scene, to flesh out that dynamic a bit. So yeah, we're 3 episodes in, and I'm fully engaged, and I'm in. The show has hooked me. I'm excited for more. I'm excited to see where it's going. So yeah, I'm excited for the next episode. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts and your opinions on episode 3 of Nier Automata. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your perspectives and hear your opinions. And if you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and help support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. And hit the bell icon to be notified for when I upload in the future. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody.